And for our last article, Rebecca Hinds wrote in Inc. that the real blocker to AI transformation isn't the tools made available, it's the narrative leaders are encoding into their culture before the rollout even starts. The argument is that beliefs don't stay abstract. A leader who tells employees their jobs will be replaced turns workers into passive recipients. A leader who tells early career staff that they're obsolete sends them chasing certifications instead of building depth. Hinds and researcher Bob Sutton also surface a harder finding from their AI Transformation 100 report. When leaders deploy AI in ways that strip craft and human touch from work, what's left is a hollow shell with little meaning. The motivation crisis from that predictive intelligence report that we talked about and the narrative crisis in this one sound a bit the same. Hinds acknowledges that AI tools alone don't build skills and that real fluency requires productive struggle. Jenni, Hinds argues that the narrative you build around AI shapes what employees believe is possible, which is squarely in the world of internal comms. Mm-hmm. So why do most AI rollout comms plans look like feature announcements rather than change campaigns?
So I'm going to come back to a conversation we had a while ago where I said something like, AI change programs are the same as any other change program. We're just making it sound worse and more complicated than it needs to be. And this, for me, is the essence of that. I look back at all the tech changes I've done. You've done way more than I have in your career, but all of those where we've either got it wrong, learnt from it, or the group team have got it wrong because they focused on the features. They've gone, look at all of these things it can do. Look, isn't this amazing? Look, it's magic. Look at all these lovely things this new enterprise social network can do. And people don't do it because it's not relevant to them. They can't understand which bits really make sense. They don't understand how it helps them with their job, all of those things. This is the same. We are doing the same thing of we're just going to do a list of stuff and hope people just go and play with it rather than really thinking about how is this relevant to you in your role and how is this going to make things easier or better. And I think the science behind that sort of labeling and messaging is important because the article talks about some insight that beliefs don't just stay in your head and it says they calcify into labels. And once a label takes hold, it often inflicts more damage than the condition it was meant to describe. And I think that is so important because we are holding on to labels in our society as a whole. And when you think about that, about AI and the label of that, it becomes reality and that's not helpful at all. So for me, it's coming back to what have we learned over digital campaigns in the past and how can we make sure that we're learning from those and not just doing a list of features because it's not going to work because the outcome is behavior change.
Yeah, I'm going to come back. We're going to find out. I remember what episode that was, but I know which one you're talking about because I said you were wrong.
You did.
In that episode. And we're going to link to that so people can go back and listen to it. Because to me, this isn't just your run-of-the-mill average change campaign. It's just not. It's massive. And so it's not just like you said, it's not just about feature announcements and, hey, you can now do this faster and click this button and do that. It is changing every aspect of everything that we do, whether you're not even actively engaging in AI. And this is where I differentiate the two between people that are benefiting from AI and people that are using AI. And there's a lot of people that are benefiting from it without even necessarily knowing or having to trigger AI to get involved. Then there's people that are actively seeking it and using it. I think even getting into an organization explaining like, hey, you never have to click this button. You never have to go to this other place. This system is built to push information to you, to give information to you. I use the example of my wife who uses a fundraising software. She uploaded some data into it, and then the next day went in there and this beautifully crafted report was done. She never had to ask it to do that report. It just did it on its own. And so there's the benefit from it versus actively saying, hey, go create this report. I think that's the education that is missing from a lot of companies, is not going through and explaining this is how, as an organization, we're going to benefit it. I want to call out the quote that they had about when leaders deploy AI in ways that strip craft and human touch from work. I think that's the part that a lot of comms people are worried about, that it's going to strip away that human element. So how do we keep that in the process? And I don't know that leaders even are thinking about that or even focused on it. So again, going back to Simon's conversation we had about when you're in the room, what are you saying in the room about the role of AI in your organization?
And I think it's just still, and we've talked about this, I feel like for about a year now, about still being in this messy state with AI, in that you're trying to build something while learning about it, and everyone's in the same boat doing that at the same time. Like, I know there are experts out there and there are people that have been doing this a lot longer, but in the majority of organizations, it feels like it is still just quite messy, and we're doing that all at once. You've touched on some stuff there about, what are you doing in the room? What are you saying? And the role of the comms person. And there is this ethical piece for this, which is a bit top of mind for me, because I was just reading some new AI ethics guidance that we're putting out through CIPR Inside for our members. And there was a lot of stuff in there about this human touch piece, which is really important in terms of saying whether something's been assisted or whether who's been involved. But that human check has to be there in order for it to actually work and do what we need it to do. Without that human bit, it's still not there. And I just think it's still not, we're still not getting it quite right. And I think there's still a lot of fear, which is what this is sort of, with that narrative of fear is still there. And I think there's even a fear, if you take your example from your wife around, she didn't ask it to do that, it just did it. Then that's a little bit scary. Like, it's just done it. Like, no one asked. And I think that in itself is scary. Like, even though that's what's possible, it's still taking control away. And that is one of the biggest fears, I think, for humans, is not having that control.